Hello everybody and welcome back to Vintage Thursday, the first Vintage Thursday of 2024. So happy new year and all that. Today is the third and final part of the 35X project. But before we get going, just something I quickly need to say. I meant to put this in the Christmas message video thing and I forgot about it. But the last Vintage Thursday of last year was when we did the history, or Dad's history, of tractors. Okay, he was sat on the 35X. That's why I've remembered I need to do it now. Anyway, so I need to say thank you very much for everybody who watched it. We had an amazing response to basically the story that he told in that video. It was very well received. And at the end of the video, he said if there was, or if people wanted it, if viewers wanted to see it, he would recount the history of some machines that has been here over the last kind of 50-60 years. So we had a lot of comments. A lot of people did want to see that. So what we'll do, we're not going to go through every machine that's ever been here because that would be too boring, but we're going to kind of go through a selection of machines that have been here, and we're probably going to do that around about Easter time. So it is coming. Just be a little bit patient and it will get there. So there we go. So yeah, I meant to say all that in the Christmas video, just went out of my head. Anyway, so 35X. A little bit has happened to it since part 2 ended. So at the end of part 2 we got it running, and it was no better really than in part 1. But after I'd finished filming that, what I did, because it's got a new head gasket in it, I took it outside, ran it up, warmed the engine through in preparation for retorquing the nuts, the cylinder head nuts. Okay, so while it was outside running, it started out on tick over, and gradually as it warmed through I run a little bit faster. After a little while it started running very nicely, both at speed and at tick over, and it was burning clear, it wasn't smoking. And there was one little thing that we need to adjust. The tick over was a little bit low, so we just need to tweak the tick over speed on the pump, but that's an easy job to do. But I was quite surprised how well it ran once it was warmed up. It was running how I expected it to, despite being a worn out engine. So I thought, well, I'll come back the next day, start it from cold, see if it's any better, and it wasn't. It was back to the original bad running. So it's got me thinking, maybe there's a stuck piston ring, or probably a broken one, or a broken piston ring, and once it warmed up, maybe that freed off and it kind of sorted itself out a little bit. Yeah, so it does run okay, but not all the time. And then I got to thinking, what we need to do, we need to get it back together, get the tank on, give it some work. It was mentioned in I think it was the first video, somebody said it needs some work, it needs to get hot, stick it on the slurry stirrer. So I think what we'll do in this video, we'll get it all back together and then take it outside, warm it through, give it a little bit of work. Well, I was going to change the oil, but there's now a reason we're not going to change the oil. So wait till the end to find out why we're not changing the oil. And because something will happen right at the end of the video, regardless of what happens during the test. So right, let's get the tank back on. So fuel tank, at the moment, as you will remember, it is running from a temporary supply because I didn't want to put the main tank on until we had finished the cylinder head, but that's done now. So we'll take our temporary pipes away. Fuel tank sits back on. That tank is here, it is cleaned, I've steam cleaned it, it's washed, it's dried out for a week or so now, so there should be no moisture left in there. I'm going to put our tap back on. I know this tap is good, it turns the flow of fuel off, so that's okay. It's all cleaned up nicely, so we'll put the tap in, tank on, plumb it all back in, and then after that it's just the bonnet to go on. Okay, so we will flip the tank, screw the tap back in, so we need to make sure when we're finished, or when we're tight, that the outlet shoots off over there over in that direction. So first thing, bit of plumber's tape on the thread. So there should be a filter pushed onto here about this high. And that is kind of your first defense against dirt. I'm not putting one in. None of the stuff here has got one in. If anything's going to give you trouble, it's that. And it's an awful job to take it apart and clean it out. So it's far easier, firstly, to keep clean fuel. Secondly, not to have that little filter in there. Okay, so we are needing to end up about there. I don't have enough confidence to go around again. I think that should be tight enough. Because of this here is the front of the tank. There's two bolts on top of the thermostat housing that pick up onto these slots, and they are these here. So what we've got to do, introduce the tank from the back and that slot under here, and then we bolt down through into the battery cage. I think I'll unscrew this line, fix it on the tap first. That might be an idea. I'll give that a try. So hopefully it should be easier to reattach to the lift pump this side than fiddling about up and under here trying to catch it onto the tap. Right, so here it goes. Let's try and let's get on. Fed our pipe across. You probably can't see a lot there. Probably got a very good view of the tank. Right, we need a bit of light at the end of there, see what's going on. So we need to keep both bolts raised just a little bit and slot it in. It's easier said than done. Got one side. Oh, we've got both sides. Wow. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. And then before we do anything up, we'll loosely catch the back bolt in and also fit our heater thermostat reservoir, because he's got to be caught under the one bolt. Right, so now we're getting somewhere. Tank is on, all tightened up, fuel tap is all connected. Okay, so the fuel tap runs into this, where are we? So the fuel tap comes around into this pipe here, just see it in the corner there, into the lift pump. So this is the leak off pipe from the filter and the injectors, so that takes any excess that the lift pump delivers, that feeds it back to the tank. Feeds it via this reservoir, which then feeds the thermostat. So all we have left to do is put this one final bit of pipe on, which is that way around, and then we're ready for fuel. And then on to onto the starting aid. Pipe's got a little bit bent somehow. There he goes. There you go, tighten the pipe and then just put the wire on. Okay, so this is the reservoir, so fuel from the filters comes back up this pipe. Once this little tank is full, it returns into the tank from here. You might just see on the end of my finger is a brazed repair to this pipe, so he's clearly kinked or broken in the past. Had a little repair. And then when you need to use your cold start function, it has this much fuel to draw on, and it runs down the pipe into the thermostat and the air intake. So there we go, that is plumbing all done. Next job, put the fuel in and check for leaks. So Let's pour a little bit in. Okay, so we haven't got much in the can here. It's just what we were using when we were bleeding through and warming up. I'll put this in for now. Get another can before we go and play with it on the slurry stirrer. There we go. That wasn't much. It's barely covering the bottom of the tank. Right, so we've got a second can of fuel in now. It's still only just along the bottom of the tank, but it's got enough in there now to get us to the diesel tank. Put a bit more in, and then we can go and get it run it up, warm it up on the slurry stirrer. So we are all dry around the fuel tap, in case there's no leaks around where we put the tape on. So what we've got to do now, we'll turn the fuel on, and then we will have to bleed between the tap and the primary filter again, because we've added air in the feed line between the tap and the lift pump. So we'll turn him on. Okay, so tap is on. Now what we'll do, we'll slacken this bleed screw, pump the lift pump until we get good air-free fuel coming from there. Then we'll just take the bolt out, or the bung. Just pump on the lift pump until we push good fuel out, and then we should get some air after a few pumps. A few little air bubbles come in now. It's not much. Right, that should be enough. Just have a little wipe round. Right, so that's it now, should be good for a start. So we'll get it out in the daylight, out in the yard, put the bonnet on, then it will start to look like a tractor again. Well, there we go, that's better than how it was running in part 2. And so it still won't start from cold. I've tested the heater plug. We have got power and diesel at the plug, but it's not working, so the plug is obviously wore out. It's not uncommon on those, they do burn out. We'll have to get a new plug. I still had to start it this morning with the gas torch into the manifold. That is running. I'm very happy with how it's running now. It's running a lot better than in part 1. So what we'll do quickly before we put the bonnet on, we'll adjust the slow running speed. I think that is tick over. That is just a little bit too slow. So this here is the throttle control, and this is the slow running screw here. So we just have to thread him through just a couple more turns, just so he doesn't back off quite so far. So we'll just undo the lock nut. Well, this might be a 2-spanner job. Right, so there's not a lot of room here. We'll hold the lock nut and screw the bolt through a little bit. Just tighten him up. Now we'll go start up and probably tweak a little bit more. Tweak him a little bit more. You can tell on tick over now he's missing just a little bit again. That's a lot better now. I'm happier with a slightly quicker tick over. What I have noticed though is a bit of play in this joint here. In there, look. It's loose. Needs a little tighten up. Right, that's better. Slightly faster tick over. Ticking over slightly faster now. We took that little bit of play out of there. All it was is the little joint was loose, so that was a nice easy fix. And we did have a slight weep on number 3 injector union, so I just give that a little tweak and hopefully it's all right now. So I think we've done fiddling. Oh, and another thing, the battery is charging the battery, so the charging system works, so that's a nice surprise. So let's get the bonnet on and get it properly warmed through, see if that makes a difference to the starting. And there we go, finally looking back to as it should. Now the only thing it's missing is the air cleaner mushroom. That was never there. So yes, there we go. Anyway, right, so we'll put a little bit more diesel in and then let's go and give it a proper warm through. Kill or cure, I guess you could say, isn't it? So here we go then, the moment of truth. 35X stirring slurry. So here we go. Tower is about 3/4 full. So it's got plenty to be going at. Right, let's give it a go. Here we go. So there we go, if that doesn't give it a workout, nothing will. So we're just letting it run for a little minute with no load on it, let it cool down. But I think it sounds good now. I'm not sure if it sounds any different to when it was in the yard ticking over, we'll wait and see. But yeah, it didn't enjoy that at all. It wouldn't go to full revs, but we normally stick about 100 horsepower on this impeller. And this is, I think these are 47, something like that, so a bit of a difference. So there we go, silence. So I think that kind of brings us to the end of part 3 and this little 35X project. I said at the start of the video, watch to the end because there has been a development, and the development is this tractor is now staying here. So I've known this tractor for probably 7 or 8 years and have on occasions tried to buy it from the committee. It was never for sale, but like we said in part 1, they asked me if I would service it. You've all seen the story of that in part 1. So that's what we did. We brought it here. We found out it was running like a bag of spanners, and that's what set us into part 2 to discover what was wrong with it. But shortly after I started filming part 2, the committee decided they didn't want the tractor back. They wanted to dispose of it because their management of the field is going to take a different direction. So there was 2 choices of what could happen to it. They offered it to me. They asked me to put in an offer for it, or if I didn't want it, could I put it back together and it would go in an auction and be gone. So at the start of filming part 2, I had that offer put in. Fortunately, I'd already filmed part 1 and knew what condition the thing was in, so it was an offer that reflected the state the engine needs doing. But those of you that know or are involved in committees in any way know that a committee decision is always a long drawn out process. It's got to go between meeting to meeting to get decisions made. So all the way through part 2, I was in kind of limbo land. Was it come, would it not? I didn't know. My offer did get accepted, and once I'd paid the money, then I was happy to announce that it's mine. Until any money changed hands, obviously I couldn't say nothing. But there we go. So that's why part 2 was a bit kind of up in the air. But now we've come to the end of part 3, so this is now staying here. So we will see what happens tomorrow. We'll do a cold start on it again tomorrow, see if our hard work has done any good. But in the long run, we're going to do the engine anyway. We know the engine is worn. We have, on this little exercise, we have just lost a small bit of water has come out of a water jacket, not entirely sure where, in the cylinder head. So yeah, the whole thing needs to go in. But the good news is, despite being on old oil, pressure was okay, but there was some breathing from the dipstick. If you pull the dipstick out when he's under load, it does breathe a bit. So what we'll do, put this away in the corner for now. What I'll try and do is through the summer use it a little bit, do bits and pieces here and there to find out what works. Does the linkage work? We know the PTO works. It is a little out of adjustment. I know the diff lock is seized up, but we'll get it back out in the spring, have a proper look around it, decide what we're going to do with it long term. And yeah, so you will definitely be seeing more of the 35X later in the year. So that will do for today's video. That brings this little mini series to a close. I will just do a cold start tomorrow morning, see if this has made any difference or not. So see you soon. Right, so we are now the next morning. Everything is cold. We are going to go for a cold start, see if we can manage without the heater plug or without the blow lamp in the manifold. So if it doesn't start today, we're not going to mess about and get it going, but just a quick, if it'll go, it will go. Right, so it's been in overnight. We have dropped, or it has leaked a tiny bit of oil, but no fuel. So I think that's pretty good going considering the load we put it under yesterday. Right, let's get on, let's give it a go, see if it's going to start. We're getting low on battery. Camera battery's getting low, so we've got to get on. Here we go. Well, there's your answer. No difference at all. So there we go. We didn't try very hard. If it was going to go, it would have gone in a couple of turns. I don't want to fill the place with smoke when I'm trying to make a video. Like I said just a minute ago, we're going to put this away now, leave it, play with it a little bit through the summer just to see what works, what doesn't. But we're going to strip the engine. We're going to do the whole thing, do it once, do it properly, and spend the money and be done with it. So right, there we go. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little 3-part series. Don't forget to subscribe and come back later in the year when we actually fix the thing properly. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.